Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 15th of May, 2021. Coming up in the Crusty Canuck podcast, what did Dany do? Dany Fortin getting in trouble for some kind of allegations, and the CBC losing a lawsuit against the CPC party for using copyright images. All that and more coming up in the podcast. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
Mama always said I had a face for radio.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast, episode 125. And you like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe and share this all around. Give me a thumbs up on YouTube and click the notification bell for awareness of new content coming your way. And thank you once again to everyone who come out to my live stream there on Thursday with Fred Stockman. Thank you very much. I am very, very appreciative to my audience out there. And thank you to the individuals that gave me some donations. Much appreciated, because without viewers like you, this podcast would be irrelevant. So pat yourself in the back for being such a great audience and giving me the platform to help me get the words out there. So as I said in the intro, Dany Fortin, general in charge of the vaccine rollout in this country, now faces allegations of some kind of sexual harassment or some kind of sexual misconduct. Now, the details are not there. I'll leave links in my description and all that good stuff for you to read and to gather and formulate your own thoughts as per. But I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. You've all heard my rambling about the time I've served in the military and where I've done this, where I've done that, and how I look at senior leadership as to be the pillar and the foundation of leadership as we know it. However, more of this shit keeps coming out of the woodwork, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. More allegations coming, more allegations going, more conspiracies, more slaps and tickles, more little hand jobs and rim jobs here and there to help each other out, except for the general public. Now, I don't know anything about Dany Fortin. I've read some of his stuff on Wikipedia, and I was qualified. He's got background in science, so obviously he understands how medicine and some sciences work. And he's been in the military for the better part of 30 years. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like a fucking shot in the sky, boom! Here's an allegation. And now he's stepped down from his position. I don't know what to say. You know, a lot of it's speculation right now. I've looked at CTV. I've looked at CBC, of course, the mainstream media. They have all the information. You know, of course they have all the information. They know what's right? And it's hard to say, right? Because when you look at how the brass is working in this country, everything's secretive, everything's on a need-to-know basis, you know, the whole nothing to see here, folks, you know, just carry on about your business. Don't worry about this, don't worry about that, and everything will be hunky-fucking-dory. Well, I don't know anything about Dany Fortin other than he's a general, and he was appointed to look after the vaccine issue in this country. However, the procurement issue is a joke. The mandates are a joke. There are a few people here who get shots, people there get shots. And when I look at our allies, i.e. Britain and the United States, they've had no major issues with rollouts. And yet all three of our nations were very, very industrialized. We had the ability to get things out here, get things done here, get things made there. History has proven that. And yet it's still a fucking joke on how these vaccines are being rolled out. Now, I'm going to speculate here, okay? Maybe he said something to piss somebody off, you know, and apparently these allegations come from a situation or a time that, you know, was well before his appointment as the vaccine commander-in-chief. But I just find it funny how all of these things are now resurfacing, or any issue resurfacing, especially in these trying times. Now, I don't know the story. I don't think a lot of us know the story just yet, but I'll keep you posted. Needless to say, enough is enough, okay? How else can we deal with this? How else can we get over this? You know, we're constantly being told, oh, don't pay attention to the media, or don't let social media govern your life, and don't let this. And you're right, we're all guilty of looking at our cell phones and our tablets and our computers alike and getting this information, getting that information. But when you want to believe that your country is a glorious place, a safe place, a good place to live and to thrive, and with all the lockdowns and all the bullshit that's been carrying on and all the other speculations and people online saying, oh, anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers are this, oh, they're white supremacists, or oh my God, they're going to incur the spread even more if they do these rallies. And yet there's been proof out there that all these rallies have not been super spreaders. And yet the powers that be were like you to think that, right? Look at all the crap going on in Alberta right now with secret legislations being passed and secret court orders being passed through the cracks so people get stifled and not have the ability to speak their minds, okay? And yet we got more of our military brass looking into this, looking into that. In regards to the military judicial system or not, something stinks. Something's fishy. Ew. So I'm not going to sit and point the fingers at Mr. or the General Fortin. I'm not going to give him speculation other than due process. Okay. And like everything else we have seen the past year, you know, it seems like due process has gone out the fucking window. So I think it's still safe to assume that due process should work, right? That's the basis of any kind of accusation or allegation, you know. Let's find out what's going on here. Let's investigate this properly. Let's make sure we look at all parameters efficiently and effectively, and yet nothing comes to fruition because of it, right? There's payoffs here, slaps and tickles here, you know, maybe a couple of lines of coke lay down the dashboard, but still, I don't know what to say other than holy shit, here we go again, right? Here we go again, folks, with more of this garbage and crap and speculation in the name of fear.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, too, please, ladies and gentlemen, check me out on Supercast as well. Link will be in the description. Just follow the green check mark in my description in my videos and the podcast. You join Supercast for $5 a month. You get all of my podcasts, censorship-free. It's a Canadian-based company that promotes a lot of Canadian talent and issues out there. So please check me out on Supercast and join today. Like I said, you get all my episodes uploaded there. Crusty Canuck podcast, censorship-free. So whether you're working in the yard, driving long distances, or putzing around, or just like, you know, just enjoy a good podcast to sit back and listen to, by all means, please check out the Crusty Canuck podcast on Supercast. Right? $5 a month gets you all of my episodes, censorship-free. And plus, you help me along, too. I like to make this a full-time commitment, ladies and gentlemen. So with you, my listeners, I need your help to make that happen. So please consider Supercast and other links today. Just follow them in my descriptions on the Podbean channel and on YouTube. Anyway, carrying on. What did Dany do? Well, there's, like I said, there's speculation. There is more speculation in what's been going on. Now, I've said this before numerous times in my episodes. If there's anybody out there in the armed forces today, and don't worry, you'll be anonymous. I will not expose your name. I don't believe in this doxing crap or exposing people for speaking their mind. I'll expose idiots for sure, and I'll get to that later in the show. But if you have been in a situation and you want somebody to talk to, really, you want somebody to talk to, and you just don't know where to go, please email me, crustybcanuck67@gmail.com. Okay? Links will be in the description where you can follow and just speak your mind. I'll be an open book. I'll do my best to read what you have to say and listen to what you have to say, right? And we can help. I can try to help you as best I can. I still know people that can make things happen, okay? So I don't care if you're male or female and you have an issue there, brothers and sisters. Please bring it to my attention. And I'll also leave an 800 number for someone to call, too. If you're a veteran or know a vet that needs help, I highly recommend you use that number to get someone to go, because the more steps you take to cure yourself of the demons and to get rid of the garbage, the better it's going to be. And I'm living proof of that, ladies and gentlemen. There was a time in 2014 where I just wasn't really together. And I wanted to do some terrible things to myself. And I'm here today because I had some help. I actually had some great leaders reach out and listen to what I had to say. So there is still great leaders in the armed forces today, ladies and gentlemen. Mark my words, there is still some great people that are looking out for your interests. They're going to help you along your way. So don't give up hope on that. But if you're not sure, and if you're afraid to, don't hesitate to let me know too. Okay? And I'll see what I can do for you. Anyway, carrying on. Mr. Dany Fortin, General Fortin. What gets me, though, is they've had the military check out some LTC homes in Ontario. And we've all seen that footage, too, in regards to how some of these homes were just filthy and ragged. And they had staffing problems, and there are people living in their filth and dehydrated, right? I think the count was maybe 2 or 3 dozen of the casualties that were at these homes were because of lack of proper hydration and cleanliness, right? So people literally living in their own shit, right? That's disgusting, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a private home or a government-run home. To me, that's fucking unacceptable, right? They had that problem in Quebec a year ago, too. You know, some private homes being treated as fucking dumping grounds because of staffing issues or because they couldn't get enough people to work, or people just being fucking irresponsible. That's it, too. I don't buy this victim mentality. You know, regardless how you feel about seniors, they're seniors for a reason because they've lived lives and they've done things and they've accomplished things. And they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, just like you and I do. And it doesn't matter if they're over 80 years old and dementia is settling in, or if they have Alzheimer's or any kind of ailment. They deserve to be looked after until the natural causes come to surface. Okay? And somewhere we have forgotten that. So when everyone's focusing on what Dany Fortin did or what he didn't do or what he might have done, okay, we have to look at the responsibilities of these government offices and these bureaucrats that are calling the shots. Again, you know, every episode I am criticizing their abilities, and rightfully so. We have to. Because if you're getting anywhere from $85,000 a year or more, you obviously have an important position, so you should look after that position to its fullest. Right? Instead of being drunk in public. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal a joke from Ron White there, but, you know, I think you catch my drift. Right? Instead of being drunk on power and drunk in public with the so-called power you have been granted in regards to this issue, there's still responsibility to be had. And a lot of you folks are not taking the responsibility to do what has to be done.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, and I've had a couple emails recently, people asking me where are my sponsors at, and we've had some issues with my sponsors personally. Nothing personal against them. They're good people. Produce for Heroes, a great organization. You know, they're going through some financial troubles right now, so, and I told them that I will still plug their product to the best of my ability, so you can check them out, and Canuck Gold, good people there. However, I am in the process of looking for more sponsors. I'd like to make this a full-time commitment, and sponsorship does have its perks, i.e., you know, I will do an ad for you for, let's say, a minute. My price is simple, $20, and I'll do an additional 30-second ad for you for $10. So for $30, you can advertise on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, whatever product you have. Doesn't matter if you're selling coffee, T-shirts, you know, sandals, you know, incense. I don't care, anything. Please let me know, crustybcanuck67@gmail.com, and we can work something out. So if you're a Canadian business up and coming, and you haven't been struck in with all this pandemic BS and you want to branch out and advertise, let me know. I'm an open book and we can work something out. And we're carrying on again with what Dany knew or what Dany did. And the CBC recently lost a lawsuit that they that they tried to give to the Conservative Party of Canada. Now, I guess during the 2019 election, Conservative Party put together some ads, as every other party does every time there's a federal election. And I guess the CBC didn't like that too much because they used some of their footage what have you, and they thought that was just really bad taste and unprofessional, and they wanted to give it the Conservatives the what for. Oh, my goodness. So they lost their lawsuit, apparently. Now, Rex Murphy did a pretty good story on that, and I'll get to that shortly. But here's Canada's major news corporation, okay? The Canadian equivalent to CNN, to fucking CBS, NBC, ABC, to our American listeners out there. And the CBC is heavily funded by the Canadian taxpayer. Okay, so that being said, and I mentioned the little perks that the Trudeau regime has given the CBC since 2015, just to make the whole Trudeau image look fantastic and sexy. Yeah, okay, so here's the CBC suing the CPC because, oh my God, you used images from our broadcast and all that to help your campaign. How dare you? How insulting. And yet the powers that be at this great big fucking news abortion conglomerate that is called the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, they forget that with taxpayer funds looking after things, you know, more or less keeping their lights on, excuse me, they forget that it's public domain, right? Really, it is public domain. The moment you put something online, just like this podcast, where we heard my lung hack there, to little Billy playing with his puppy, to watching flies playing the butter, it becomes public domain. Okay. And I'm guilty of tapping certain images for my memes and my thumbnails and everything like that. And no one's knocked on my door trying to sue me just yet, you know, hopefully. But so it becomes public domain, you know, regardless. You put yourself on there, especially online, it becomes public domain. It's open to suggestion. It's open to praise. It's open to criticism, right? So what I don't get is how the CBC spent all this time and effort and resources to try to claim that the Conservative Party was wrong, right? And yet they lost their case. And I'll get to the article that Rex Murphy wrote for the National Post there. It's quite interesting, but I'll let you, my listeners, decide there too. What gets me is that every prime minister since CBC's inception, I think back in the 1920s, doesn't matter if it's conservative, liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative, liberal, every cycle of our prime ministers and their conglomerates and followers have given the CBC tons of cash when it comes to promoting Canadian content, when it comes to Canadian radio, Canadian television, Canadian stories, Canadian short films, films in general, TV, movies, yada, yada, yada. We all know the routine. And yet here's the CBC trying to sue a party for doing what any party does, getting bits and pieces of this media, getting bits and pieces of that media, sound bites, pictures, memes, posters, to promote their party in any election. So I guess it's that whole new woke agenda that you can talk about. I guess that's a whole new progressive agenda that all these, you know, people who love the CBC like to promote. Okay, well, I'm a firm believer in defunding the CBC. I'm a firm believer in defunding any kind of government broadcast unit. Okay, because usually when something says government on it, it's obviously funded by the Canadian taxpayer. So, you know, you can't sit there and say it's owned by the government when it's actually owned by the Canadian people. When you think about it, technically, right? So it's owned by the Canadian people. So blow out your ass, CBC. Blow out your ass. Right? When I turn on my television, you know, I'm usually watching Amazon, Netflix. I watch a lot of the movie channels. I'm guilty of watching mainstream media channels just to get some more information. But I also watch TNC. I watch Rebel, Daniel Boardman, Frank P. Vaughan, Adam Daniel Mezei, myself, you know, because I look at my videos and just try to tweak them and edit them and all that kind of stuff. But in the same sense, I also look at other independent thought and other speakers out there who just have something valuable to say. And we're not sitting around suing each other, worrying about if a politician uses this work or if a group uses that work. I encourage people out there, you know, if anybody sitting in the left wing of things wants to use my work to your advantage to promote how evil and terrible I am, go for it. I encourage it. And I've said numerous times, I encourage a debate too. And I've had people weigh in on my profile lately and say, oh my God, you sit there and say you want debate, but you shut people down. And it's like, well, I shut people down when they start insulting me. when they start pointing fingers. Like if you're going to judge my podcast based on a meme, obviously you haven't listened to the podcast. So your argument is null and void. Or if you're going to judge me based on the fact that I'm a white person in his 40s who identifies as a straight white male and constantly use that as your foundation to engage me in debate, then your debate or your points, your engagement is null and void. It's that simple. Bring some facts to the table. Yes, every party in this country has done wonderful things one way or the other. Okay? But I fought for this nation, and I worked with some great people that did the exact same thing. And some of those great people aren't here with us today because of their sacrifice. So when I look at what's happening with Dany Fortin and the allegations that have yet to surface, I am skeptical. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But there's also proof now, too, that General Vance did some naughty things. Oh, bad general, bad general. Yes, how dare you, right? So it's getting ridiculous. And then when you read stories about the CBC suing a federal party, especially a federal party that has graciously, given a lot of money to the CBC while they were in power and throughout history have been in power, it's kind of like, you're suing your parents for telling you can't go outside and play.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please consider Supercast as well, too. Link will be in the description. $5 a month gets you all of my Crusty Canuck episodes uncensored. So you get to hear my lovely mug every time you tune in, just for $5 a month. Even to my subscribers on YouTube, please consider checking me out on Supercast as well. Or become a member, join the page. If I had half my subscribers, let's say, graciously donate $2 a month to me, I would be well on my way to making this podcast fantastic. But I need you, my listeners and viewers and fans alike, to make that happen. And if you get a chance to, please check out my shop, customizedgirl.com/small s/Crusty Canuck. I got t-shirts, I got mugs, I got stickers, I got hats, I got little Remembrance Day flasks and other paraphernalia. Please check it out. Get your loved ones some Crusty Canuck swagger. Get yourself some Crusty Canuck swagger today. All right, so carrying on, more of the CBC bullshit too. All right, I just find it amazing that we live in this day and time where people are so uber sensitive when it comes to bringing facts and figures to the table. I know my friends in the States, my American listeners, I'm sure you're privy to seeing some of the ridiculous things that the mainstream media has said down there. What beloved Joe Biden has said in regards to oil in this country and procurement. How the vaccines have rolled out at record rates down there. And yet up here, total shit show, right? All the experts have weighed in again. And now with this Dany Fortin issue, what's going to happen with the vaccines and stuff now too? Are we going to have to wait longer? Mr. Pierre, well, he's just like his old man, Puppet Trudeau talking about, the one-dose summer issue, one dose away to freedom. You get your doses, you'll be free. Get your jabs, you'll be free. Yeah. So you obviously know what they're doing is wrong. Right? So I'm going to bring ethics up again, too. Now, regardless if you're a general, regardless if you're private or corporal, or whatever fucking unit you're in, there's a certain amount of ethos you have to understand. Right? I don't care how educated you think you are, how rich you think you are, how rich you are, or educated you are. There's still ethics that have to be followed. Now, I don't know the whole story with Dany Fortin. I mentioned that earlier. I don't know what was said or what he did prior to his position as the vaccine rollout commander. But things haven't rolled out properly, so there's something going on there. And I'm not saying it's all his fault. I will blame the procurement board in this country because they've had a nasty history of not doing things properly when it comes to procuring things, i.e. submarines, old F-18s for old F-18s, and other parts thereof that is supposed to make our military strong. And yet they always go to the lowest bidder on what's cheaper, right? Because they got to line their pockets too, right? But when it comes to this issue with the allegations of sexual misconduct. I would have to say it's very, very dark waters because we don't know the whole story yet. So I'm a firm believer in the due process thing. Let's see and wait and see what happens. But for him to just up and leave his position as quickly as he did, and that was yesterday, I think there's something a little more in the mix than just, an allegation that came from yesteryear or from last year or for 2 years ago. Who knows when? But we'll have to wait and see. But needless to say, we got to keep the ball rolling and get these vaccines out. Now that's if they work or not. If they're efficient, then okay, they should be here already, you would think. Right? And of course, the big conglomerates like CBC should be reporting that and promoting that too. But no. They're going to report what is trendy and what's going to bring more ratings, even though CBC's ratings have dropped drastically, I think, the past 3 years. I don't have the stats with me at the moment, but it doesn't look good, right? It doesn't look good, ladies and gentlemen. But to every one of these aficionados, again, who keep talking about how they're owed something or how, the CBC should be treated this way and that way, and how the big mainstream media conglomerates keep talking about how they try to...
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Again, absolutely nothing. I was getting to that, but I tapped the button too early. So, needless to say, folks, we can do better. I know we can do better. We can be a little more speculative. We can ask the tough questions, and we shall. Regardless of what legislations have come down, regardless of what issues have happened, we can still stand our ground and hold to what's true. Anyway, here's that story from Rex Murphy, National Post. I'll just read it verbatim here for you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is from Rex Murphy in the National Post. He put this up there today, actually. CBC loses farcical lawsuit against the Conservatives, but secular moralizing will continue. Of course, typical tactic from those clowns. CBC lost a court case yesterday, but apart from possibly having to pay costs, it doesn't matter, not one bit. For the few who have aptly forgotten about the affair, its key points were that the CBC management and their chief correspondent, named in the suit originally, but after very predictable embarrassments, her name was removed, sued one of Canada's two main parties. Rosie Barton? They sued, even more startling at this time, and I'm not being sarcastic, during a federal election. Pause on that note. In the middle of an election campaign, Canada's main broadcaster, cue the laugh track, launched a public lawsuit against one of the two main contending parties and inserted the name of their chief correspondent into the suit. This was farcical on the face of it. You do not send your reporters in the morning to cover a politician and then send out your lawyers in the afternoon to harass him in court. It goes against, what is the term? The doctrine of impartiality in news coverage. They sued because the Conservatives used a fragment of a news item in one of their election ads. Political parties have been using quotes and film clips almost as long as they've been making promises and breaking them. CBC could have saved themselves a lot of mockery by consulting one of the many splendid technicians, any camera operator, editor, or even the security staff, for it's my experience that there is a lot more wisdom, or if not wisdom, common sense in the people off camera than there is in any of the higher offices and endless meeting rooms where the putative big brains plot the next version of the CBC News and its various reimagings, restructurings, and reinventions. So well said, Rex. Reimagining the CBC is close to a hobby with this crowd. If they actually tried to make the one they already have, the CBC that is already there, really do its job, push its reporters to get out of Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto more, engage with the whole country it's mandated to report on. Perhaps there wouldn't be time for useless and dumbass lawsuits, or bragging its current president all the way from New York for yet another plotting a new course for the CBC News seminar. The main argument CBC put up, an argument in this context, is a charity word. What is they launched the suit to, quote-unquote, protect the trust Canadians have in the independence of their public broadcaster. Well, that's a whole lot of icing for a very little cake. If trust can be measured by ratings, Canadians are not nearly as saturated by trust in the independence of their public broadcaster as their statement presupposes. Indeed, to choose a neutral term, very many Canadians see the CBC as tenacious, absorbed in social justice issues, to the exclusion of other equal concerns, as too focused on the center of the country, and in particular Toronto-centric to an unfathomable degree. In particular, I'd argue that the CBC in these latter days seems to think its mission is not to report on Canada, but to improve it. There is a high degree of what I'd call secular moralizing that drives their news selection, and that their moralizing enters the reporting itself. Rather than hiving off to the courts when the sensibilities of management are dented, they might try to strip off a layer of the righteousness of their attitude to what is news and should be. Stop supporting causes and instead report on them in depth. And while they are at it, leave all the American political stories from judicial nominations to the insurrection in Washington and anything wildly anti-Trump, quote unquote, recall the interviews with the one-time Trump slayer Michael Envetti. Leave all those stories to the Americans. Will Thursday's judgment change anything? No, not a chance. The organism in question here has grown too sluggish and self-absorbed, and the evidence for that is in the news that they may appeal the decision. Before it actually make the choice, have someone upstairs in their great building talk to someone, anyone, sound engineer, cameraman, it doesn't matter, work in the offices below. He or she will, in full exasperation, advise against it. So hats off, Mr. Rex Murphy, for that great article. We all know Rex Murphy was quite the CBC mainstay on the National, with his little editorials and his little blurbs. And he's quite the informative guy, and I recommend you watch his channel on YouTube, too. He talks to some really good people, and he has a very good insight to life as we see it. He's been a professional, a consummate professional, I think since the 1960s. So regardless of how old he is, he's got something to say, and that was a very well-written article. I really enjoyed that. So what do you decide, folks? Tell me what you think about that. You know where to find me, right? And that's the thing. Stop worrying about what's going on in the States. Stop worrying what's going on here. Stop worrying what's going on here. I'm not trying to insult my American listeners out there, but really, look what the focus is on, right? So CBC, you lost. And I wonder how you're going to turn this Dany Fortin story into, because I remember the CBC being really nasty and belligerent to the military back in the 90s when they had the airborne issues going on. When the airborne got in trouble for what happened in Somalia. And that wasn't the whole regiment, ladies and gentlemen. That was just a few people that did something really stupid. And I personally worked for members of the Canadian Airborne, or ex-members of the Canadian Airborne, and they were nothing remotely close to what the CBC tried to make them to be. So that's something to put in your pipe and smoke. So now we're at the point of the show where I do one of my favorite things, award the infamous...
The Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit.
Exactly. And of course, I think without further ado, and without, digging up other facts and figures, the winner and recipient of this episode's
The Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit
goes to, wait for it, the CBC and Rosemary Barton. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It goes to her for, just being incompetent. Just being bloody incompetent. Just the whole mainstream media being bloody incompetent. Well done, CBC and Rosemary Barton. A well-deserved award. This has been another
The Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit.
Well done, CBC. Well-deserved.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, and please consider joining me on Supercast, too. Link will be in the description. Excuse me, too many cigarettes. Yes, $5 a month get you all of my podcast episodes censorship free, because we know how like big tech and all these guys want to censor and conjure and do all these terrible things. Meanwhile, let us independent folk thrive and flourish as we all should. So please consider joining Supercast today for $5 a month, ladies and gentlemen. And to all my YouTube subscribers out there, please consider donating as well. You know, if I was getting $2 a month, let's say from half of you, wow, I would be on my way to something pretty fucking cool. So please consider joining today and get yourself some perks in the future. So, yes, carrying on again too. So I'm trying to arrange an episode with Mr. Pierre Poilievre coming up, hopefully, on some time in the future with the Thursday fastball that I do every week. Now, this week I will not be having a Thursday fastball, but please pay attention to my community page and Facebook page for updates on that. I am working part-time now, so there is money coming in, thankfully, which is good, which is a good thing, you know. But like I said, I want to make this podcast a full-time commitment too, so I need listeners such as yourselves to make that happen. But as I say, I reached out to Pierre Poilievre, and I got a nice email, and I contacted him via his government email. So we'll have to wait and see. And I do have some guests in the works in the future. I'm trying to get Stephen Brule, a video producer. He's basically a collaborator with Janice Villamengo. I tried to get her on the show. Didn't get any answers from her yet, but Stephen Brule is quite the informative videographer, a producer, video maker, and quite the outspoken individual when it comes to men's rights in this country. So I'm going to try to get him on in the future too. And other interesting guests as well laid out. Hopefully sometime before the summer, but we'll see. But please pay attention to my community page on YouTube and my Facebook page for updates as well. And I am branching out to other social media platforms as well. So you, my viewers, get a good chance to listen and to enjoy my content without any political or technical or censorship dogma. Right. So, obviously, there might be an election in the works because of all this folder carb going around, but we'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to wait and see to see what's happening, because it's just all these people are popping out of the woodwork with these accusations. Like I said in my last episode with Mayor Nenshi, you know, people rally and get together. Oh, it's a racial thing. Oh, it's a terrible thing. And yet when people rally for the Palestinian people, especially what's going on in Israel right now, it's not a racialized thing for some reason. Interesting. Now, I'm not against anybody from Palestine, anyone from Israel, anyone from any Arab country, anyone who has Muslim roots or Jewish roots or Christian roots. I don't judge people on that. And you've heard me ramble on enough about that stuff, because it gets ridiculous. Honestly, with all the progress that our societies have made in the past 50 to 60 years in regards to rights and privileges and getting things done, and people having the opportunity to flourish and thrive, whether it be in academia, whether it be in agriculture or manufacturing or business. I am so sick and tired of the disingenuous comments that I get from these fucking leaders in regards to division, right? Now, there have been problems in the Middle East for better part of 100 years now. I would say let them sort it out. You know, let us Canadians not get involved. Let us just mind our business and start looking after Canadian problems, okay? And to my American listeners too, let us not get involved, okay? Let's reach our hands across the border and try to help each other at the best of our abilities, because we both love our democracies and we both want us to thrive, okay? So my advice is just let them be. And regardless of how you feel about this homeland, or if you're from that homeland or this homeland or from here, or you identify as this, we got a lot of problems in this country first to look after, okay? We got issues here to sort out. Everything from the clean water issue, everything to these so-called green schemes and missing funds and misappropriated funds going here and going there, while working class Canadians of all colors and creeds are getting it up the chuff, right? So let's work on Canadian problems, shall we? All right? You've heard me ramble on too. I don't judge anybody based on their faith. I judge people based on their character and their actions and or lack of them. So let's create our own actions. Let's look after what we have to look after here first. And then we could probably take part in the world conglomerate that might stop or start a bloody fucking world war. Right. Anyways, gentlemen, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 15th of May, 2021. Like I always say, look after your friends and loved ones. Do what you can to help your neighbors out. And like I always say, keep your chin up, like my grandparents used to tell me too as a kid. Keep your chin up, boy. Do your best. And we'll overcome this. We will do what we can. And pay attention this Sunday. I will be hosting another Sunday Fastball with my friends Adam Dany Mezei, Chris Semchuk, Fred Stockman, and other guests as they appear. And we're also working on some different titles and headlines to be more ad catching there. So pay attention to my community page and Facebook page for updates on that as well, too. And like I say again, next Thursday, I will not have the Thursday Fastball. I'll be working. So there'll be no show this week, ladies and gentlemen. But still, stay tuned for updates on the podcast and the Sunday Fastball as they come too. Like I say, look after your friends and loved ones. Do what you can to help each other out to the best of our abilities. I'm going to go out today and do some more gardening. I'm going to flip some more dirt and get my seeds ready. I hope to have a good potato crop this year. I might even plant some corn this year too. I don't know. Nothing beats corn on the cob in the summertime. I tell you, fucking tastes great. Fantastic. I highly recommend it, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I've been Crusty Canuck. And like I always say, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.